The actual dovetails will be cut using this jig, and we find that the most convenient and easiest way when you're only doing multiple of the same thing. The other way you could do it, is the old and tried method where you can mark out your dovetails and cut them with a tenon saw or something similar, and then you'd have to use a chisel to get them to fit exactly right. But when you're doing bulk lots, this just speeds things up for us. So what we've done here is that we've laid the timber onto the shelf of the jig, the actual jig here, and we've allowed about 1 to 2 millimeters above the actual timber thickness, and that just gives us a bit of a safety margin. And when you put it together, it's just an area that you'll have to sand off a bit later on, but it's better to sand some off and then try and have to sand down the whole board, if it's recessed. So what we have here is a set of boards to make up one of the trays we're making. Now these ones are all got angles on them. The angle on these ones is actually about 9 degrees, and we've got basically the sides, the long side and the short side. Now to set these ones up, we put our face mark on all our boards, so that's our outward side of the board. And when we're setting these up, we actually line up like such, and on this particular jig here, we just get it flush with one of the prongs coming out. And once we've done that, we can then clamp that into position. So we lock down the stop, so this is our stop here, and then we can clamp that into position, and just checking that it's down flush and that it's flush with this finger or prong coming out on the jig itself. The next stage, once we cut this one, we turn it over to the second stop, making sure the face side is on the outside, and then we can cut that one the same way. Finish the dovetails on each end of the long side, in this case, and it's all referenced, as I said before, to your face edge. You can see here that there is an angle on the dovetails, and that angle is that angle there. So it's compensating for that 9-degree angle that we put in. The next stage is to cut the short side. We've got to put our straight cuts in here so that they tie in with the dovetails, and we'll be doing that exactly the same way. We'll be setting up the same way, and again working from the face edge. So we'll put the straight cutter in, and that references to this side of the jig. You've got two sides of the jig, one's dovetailed, the side closest to me, and the far side is now the straight cutter. And as with the dovetail, we set up the same way. So we use our same stops as the reference, making sure the face side is out as I said before. Clamp that into position, and I always just test to make sure that's down, flat and firm, and then we can start our cutting process. So what we have here is the two types of trays that we're making. We've got the square one and then we've got the bevel one. And as with both, we've had to cut the dovetails. We've just fit them together to see how they're going together. And you can probably see here that we've left a bit of a height for the dovetail, so this will all be sanded back. But we'd rather do that to have a mil or 2 mil extra in length, so we can sand it back more so than being under length, which would then make a lot bigger problem. So to achieve this, what we do here is set the cutter height so it's about 1 or 2 mil higher than the thickness of the timber, and that's how we end up with that result.